Hello and welcome to the Academic Success for New Members webinar. My name is Reese Jolch and I will be your technical producer and co-presenter this evening. This webinar will also be presented by Amelia McCormick, Chairman of Academic Excellence. Colette Rangtish is the Director of Chapters here as well. And before we start the presentation, let's take a moment to ensure that everyone is ready and familiar with the webinar control panel. On the right side of your screen, you will see the attendee control panel, and on the left is the webinar viewer window. This viewer window will display the presenter screen when the webinar begins. The control panel can be minimized or expanded by clicking on the horizontal double arrow in the upper left-hand corner, and minimizing the panel allows to better view the presentation. So you can take a little moment to practice. You'll also want to be familiar with another feature of the control panel, that is the raise your hand button. This button is located along the left side of the control panel, and it allows you to virtually raise and lower your hand. Another important feature is the questions pane. You'll find that at the bottom of the questions pane. To submit a question, type it into the questions box. And these questions may be related to the presentation, or if you have technical questions, let me know as well. Questions may be submitted at any time, but we will be stopping periodically to ask questions, and there will be a question and answer period at the very end. So during the webinar, you will be asked to respond to some polling questions and surveys, so please take the time to participate because your input is valuable to the group. If you need to step away for the moment, do not close your GoToWebinar window, as you'll be required to log in again if you wish to rejoin the session. If you do happen to experience some problems with audio, one possible solution is to use the conference call number and listen to the presentation using your phone. And if you do this, click the Use Telephone option on the audio pane of your control panel. This webinar is being recorded, and it will be available on the online archive in a few weeks. Does anyone have any questions before we begin? If so, just go ahead and type them into your questions. Okay, so seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and hand the virtual microphone over to Amelia McCormick. Amelia?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on academic success for new members. We've had a couple questions about what exactly this webinar is tonight, given the variety of people we have attending. I wanted to give a little bit of background and history as to what has brought us here this evening. It serves as several purposes, really first and foremost to help new members achieve academic success. So tonight is full of tips, tricks, best practices to kind of help you get off on the right foot this term, or if you're already a couple months into the term, continue on down that path of success and learning, because the collegiate career is a daunting one, an overwhelming one when you first start out. This is also meant to be a resource webinar for VPAEs and for the new member chairs, because we want to make sure that they have programming tools and tips and tricks in the future that they can use to educate new members as well. So that's really the purpose of tonight, and I want to start out first and foremost by talking about how Kappa really does promote academic excellence. Through its standards and values, Kappa promotes a broad college experience, and a large part of this is academic excellence. You'll hear me use that phrase over and over again. It's scholarship, it's academics, it's the work and time that you're putting into school. And scholarship is really a value that you and Kappa have in common. I know it's a value that you hold because you have chosen to pursue higher learning, which is such a noble cause and such a wonderful thing to be pursuing in this day and age. And scholarship or intellectual development, whatever you want to call it, is Kappa's first priority. It is a very fundamental basis of the values that we are founded on. And it's an impressive achievement that our members really attest to. In Kappa, scholarship programs really provide an atmosphere for academic accomplishment, emphasizing that each member attain her personal academic best. And then as a whole, the chapter supports this as well. We do have a fraternity statement regarding academic excellence. Kappa Kappa Gamma recognizes the value in striving for intellectual excellence and opportunities for self-growth. Each chapter is encouraged to maintain scholastic excellence, actively support its members who encounter academic challenges, and provide an environment conducive to academic success for all members. This is something that your VPAE and her committee very much work hard to enforce and to support as part of her office. But this is important that you know that as a fraternity, we very much value academic excellence as a whole. So much so that when Kappa put together its key messages, kind of messages that summarize Kappa as a whole. We had several key messages on scholarship. Kappa fosters the pursuit of lifelong learning by promoting intellectual curiosity and self-confidence, and Kappa celebrate a richness of common heritage while embracing each other's diversity of background and interests. And these are really key messages that summarize our feelings towards scholarship and scholarly pursuit, not only in your collegiate career, but as an alumni as well, that intellectual curiosity, that willingness to continue to learn after your years as an active member. So again, scholarship is a value that you and Kappa share. And Kappa is here to support you in this endeavor and the pursuit of higher learning in a variety of ways. You have human resources in your sisters, and we'll talk more about the different ways that they can support you. But you also have additional resources outside of your chapter that we'll go into greater detail of as well. We want to give you even more tools and resources tonight that will really help you succeed academically. But first, it's time to take a poll. So Reese will be running a poll system, and the first is about academic effort.
So you'll see right now on your screen my effort level towards my academic performance, and go ahead and select one of those choices. All right.
So the poll will close in 3, 2, 1.
And then here are the results.
So academic effort, 87% say it's very high, and that's wonderful to see. That's exactly where we want it. And 10% say it's average, and I appreciate the honesty. It's pretty good. And then 3%, it varies with my interest level in the course. This is also really conducive and typical of results that we see on a regular basis. A lot of times our academic effort really does change depending on our interest in something, and sometimes it's higher than others. And so it's just kind of a nice idea to give an idea of how everyone feels about it right now. We have another poll regarding roadblocks. So what roadblocks do you see in your academic pursuits? And I'll let Reese go ahead and open that up as well.
Oh. Well, actually, we're going to go ahead and close this because this is not the ones that we were looking for. I apologize.
Oh.
So the answers were not the ones that we that had taken. So we're just not going to do that poll. I'm so sorry.
That's all right. So moving forward, I want to talk a little bit about tonight's agenda and what exactly we'll be covering. So first and foremost, we're going to talk through time management. This is one of the major sticking points I hear from a lot of chapter women across Kappa land, as I call it, that they're having a lot of difficulties with time management. How do you manage your time now that you're solely responsible for the amount of time you spend on scholarship, when you also have to balance it with so many other things going on in your lives? Study skills. Study skills do you need to have, and how can you prepare in the best possible way? And so really kind of looking at what kind of studier you are and kind of some different tips and tricks to help you there. Academic resources, and these come in a variety of forms, and stress reduction tips, because this, again, can be an overwhelming experience. Your first term in college, that first finals period or midterms period can be really overwhelming and scary. So how can you really help yourself to be the best you can be in terms of scholarship? We'll have Q&A after each major section, and then we'll also have Q&A at the very end as well. Feel free to ask questions throughout in the questions pane, and we'll definitely be trying to get to those at the end of each section and at the end of the actual presentation. So I'm going to start us off with time management. The secret is not to prioritize your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. Develop a system that helps you create balance in your life, work, and scholarship. You are busy. You are one of the most overcommitted and overprogrammed generations to attend college. And I'm not that far outside of college. I remember how this felt. You have jobs, activities, family commitments, school, and even more to keep you busy. So you want to develop a time management system that really maximizes your efforts in a balanced way and keeps you moving towards your goals. You want to make room for study and room for a rich and vibrant life in college. This is an exciting time in your life, so we definitely don't want you to spend all your time on academics. Kappa is really a part of that balance and structure in developing you as an individual, as a whole woman, as a leader, beyond just your scholarly pursuits. But we do have to actively make time for scholarship as well. So some tips and tricks. Determine the number of hours each day and week that you believe you need to study. Studies have actually shown that a successful student in college will spend an average of 3 hours outside of the class studying for every hour that they're enrolled. This means if you're taking 16 hours, you should be allocating approximately 48 hours per week outside of the class to learn the material. This applies to regular class preparation. And if you think about it, in high school, you were automatically in the classroom about 35 hours per week. So you didn't have to really spend a lot of time outside of class studying. You had a lot of that time condensed and created and managed for you by your teachers and by your high school schedule. But now, the reality is that you very much have to plan that in advance. You want to make sure you're allocating extra time when you're preparing for exams and papers that are due. So on top of that average of maybe 3 hours per course hour that you're in outside that you're studying, you want to make sure that you're really allocating extra time. And a special note about time management, just before we go any farther. Your schedule should include going to class. It's essential that you attend the courses that you're enrolled in. So much important material is covered in class. And the reality is that even if you attend and don't take the best notes, you often recall and remember much, much more at the end of the term when it does come down to those nitty-gritty questions. And teachers want to see your face. Teachers want a relationship with you. They want to be able to recognize you, know who you are, and they're also much more apt to help you should you need it if they recognize you and know that you regularly attend and are putting their class as a priority. So time management, anytime we're talking about a schedule, really should also include attending class as well. So back to that schedule. Complete a sample week hour by hour, such as last week, and see how you used your time. And this will really help you give a realistic idea of how you actually used your time. How much of it was spent on The Bachelorette, how much of it was spent on that new show Revenge, which is pretty amazing. And then you can adjust accordingly. You can adjust to your academic needs. Each week can be different, and it really depends on your course assignments, when you have tests coming up. Every week is going to be slightly different, and it should be. And begin major projects well in advance of the due date. The best thing you can do when you get your syllabus is write down those upcoming tests and paper dates, those major quizzes that are coming up. Expand it to late night hours if that's realistic for you. Kind of figure out when your time management schedule needs to start and end. If you're an early riser like myself, maybe it's 6 a.m. that you're going to be up and studying in the union. Maybe that's absolutely ridiculous and you're really going to start about 2 o'clock. But whatever it may be, try to really fit in that time and fill in all of your other essential activities. Are you a runner? Do you need to make sure you schedule time to run several times a week? Classes, labs, Kappa activities, meetings, sleep. I will say it again, sleep, all of those important things that really matter to you as a whole. So schedule in those essential activities that you know that you have to have. The benefits of using a schedule, it really makes things easier to get done. It allows you to see at a glance your daily and weekly schedule so you know what's coming up. It helps you develop accountability. And that's the most important thing, is when you're starting out, it's better to be a little more strict with yourself and then gradually ease up over time once you get into a rhythm. And it helps prevent memory lapses. There's nothing worse than showing up to class and forgetting that there was a quiz or forgetting that there was a test. So making sure that you don't forget assignments, meetings, group study, other opportunities that you have to really excel academically. More benefits. It's a visible reminder of commitments, and it kind of helps combat that laziness, apathy, unproductivity that can kind of sneak in, especially those of you who are in the midterm. It's tough. You've already worked really, really hard for half of the semester. How can you continue to have that same accountability moving forward? It provides a definite and important lift for your self-esteem because you can see what you've accomplished. And there's nothing better than looking back at a checklist or a completely scribbled through calendar of full time that you've spent studying and knowing that you've worked really hard. And it allows you to reserve time blocks for other important things like we talked about, determined by hour, what else you find to be essential. But remember, your first attempt at a good schedule is just a trial run. So for our perfectionists out there, don't feel like it has to be perfect. You're going to adjust it. Every week should be different. And once you find something that works, stick to it. Create a system for you. It's only for you. But make sure that borrowed time from study is paid back in study. If you skip a class or if you skip time, make sure that you make it back in spades. So ask yourself, what time of day and night do you prefer to study? Where do you prefer to study? Do you find it easier to study by yourself or with a partner or friend? Do you study better after physical activity or mental activity? Do you schedule studying for times when your energy level is at its highest? And this is important, kind of getting an idea of how that schedule really can fit to your personal style already. So are there any questions about time management? Feel free to ask in the question box.
I'm not seeing any questions right now. Go ahead and type them in, though, if you got them. All right. I think we're good, Amelia.
Okay, perfect. So it's time to take a poll. Before we get into study tips, I'll let Reese launch the next poll about the best study time.
Fantastic. And also, after this, I want to go back to the other polling question that we had. In fact, let's just go with the first one that we had before that we're having technical difficulties for. It's about roadblocks. So again, currently, what are the biggest roadblocks to your academic success? And you can actually choose all that apply. And we're going to close the poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, the poll is now closed. Here are the results.
So I'm glad that we covered time management first and foremost, because I can see that almost 60% of you really say that trouble managing time is one of your #1 roadblocks. So again, I'd like to just stress the importance of a schedule. It may seem incredibly redundant to have a schedule and be really micromanaging your time in that way, but especially when you're starting out with a term or starting out and don't quite have a system that's been working for you, this is a great way to get started and really evaluate exactly how you're spending your time and where you can maximize it a little bit better. And then I'm excited to see you guys talking a little bit about not sure how to study effectively. Reese is going to get to that next. And then those of you who are just stressed, this is a natural progression of being kind of over-programmed and having too much going on. We're going to talk about that as well. So I'll turn it back over to Reese for the next poll.
Perfect. And so that next poll that we're going to do is I study best. So when do you study best? You go ahead and log your answers in. We're going to close the poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The poll is now closed. And here are our answers. All right. So again, definitely find out what time studies best for you and try to stick with it. Like Amelia said, layer that into your schedule. Definitely schedule the time for when you study best. All right. So now we are moving into what is your study style. All right. So there are many different types of study styles, but we are going to talk briefly about 4 of them. And the first is the solo studier. And the solo studier, so there's the solo studier, the multitasker, social studier, and the crammer. With the solo studier, first and foremost, you're someone who really likes to study in total silence. You have no distractions, and you are calm. You like the organized place to study. Most likely, you're studying in your bedroom with the door closed and all distractions turned off. So think about that if that sounds like you. The next type we have is the multitasker. The multitasker is someone who can do a lot of things a lot of time. They are not distracted by music or TV while studying. In fact, you feel like that actually rejuvenates you, and you love being able to take small, frequent breaks to clear your head and refocus. So think about if that sounds like you or not. And then the next type of studier we're going to look at is the social studier. And that person, I think, is a super lucky person, someone who really thrives being with other people, bouncing ideas off of them in order to really get it in your head. So you learn best when you get to discuss the material with other students. And then that last person, maybe it sounds familiar to you, is the crammer. And that studier is someone who says to themselves, you have a test next Tuesday? Yeah, no problem. I have Monday night all ready for my studying. So think about those 4 different types, and we're going to launch a poll to see what you think your study style is. So go ahead. If you think you're a solo studier, mark that. If you think you're a multitasker, mark that. If you think you thrive best in a social scene, bouncing ideas off of people, or if you feel like you're that crammer, go ahead and put that. And we're going to close that poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the poll is now closed. Okay, and here are the results. We have about 45% of you with solo studiers, multitaskers, and crammers following up behind that, and then a few of you are social studiers. All right. We're going to get to a little bit of helpful hints for each study style person. With the solo studier, really consider reserving a nice quiet space for yourself. Make sure you schedule the necessary amount of time. If you do study in your bedroom, you maybe want to consider reserving a space at your local library, because again, most people truly do fall into this category most of the time. You might find yourself bridging between many different styles, but the most effective studying tends to be the study soloer. With that being said, you can definitely be a multitasker, a social studier, and you're spreading that around your study style as well. So consider definitely, if you are a solo studier, reserving a private study space for yourself, and definitely scheduling the necessary amount of time. The next hint is for the multitasker, and with that, the multitasker, again, you really need to monitor yourself, because again, making sure that the background noise that you have is something that's actually helping you learn, that's providing you white noise in order for you to focus, and it's not something necessarily that's distracting you. So really, when you pause to think about the background noise, is it something that's helping you learning and and helping you be free of distractions with the white noise, or is it something that's just catching your eye and helping you procrastinate? Another thing the multitasker wants to avoid is being around a lot of people and other distractions, so keep that in mind. Some helpful hints for the social studier. Again, you're incredibly lucky because you get to be around people. So the great helpful hint I can give you is to form a study group. If you don't know how to form a study group on your own, definitely reach out to your VPE, your Vice President of Academic Excellence, your professor, faculty members, your teaching assistants, they're going to help you as well, and your librarians, they're actually there to help you form study groups as well. So reach out to people and form a study group. The next helpful hint that we'll give you is make sure that you create a study plan and agenda for yourself. Because you are social, it's easy to get distracted, so if you go in there with a game plan and the questions that you want answered and bounce off of other people, you will have a much more effective studying time. And then we have 2 more hints for you. Is again bringing a healthy snack for everyone to share. Definitely keeping that that energy going. So, and then for the crammer, it may feel like you are going to be able to cram it all in the night before, but honestly, statistics show that cramming right before a test is not a good idea. It may feel like it's going to be really fresh on your mind, but unfortunately, again, it's just not a really great way to absorb the information you need. So instead of cramming right before a test, you can even schedule yourself some mini cramming sessions periodically throughout the week. And definitely treat your body right. It's incredibly important to get enough sleep, Again, if you are trying to cram it all in the night before, you're not going to be able to have the proper rest you need to perform to the best of your ability come test day. So again, read your notes after class every day and schedule yourself just little mini cramming sessions. So give yourself 10 minutes to read your notes, 30 minutes to read your notes, and if you schedule in that time, instead of cramming the night before the test, you'll actually retain the information much better. So, so those are some helpful hints for you. So again, we'd love for you to pause and raise your hand using the raise your hand feature. Do you currently have a study system that works for you? So a methodology of studying that works for you? If so, raise your hand. I'm not seeing a ton of hands raised, but I am seeing a few, so that excites me. Yay. Fantastic. Well, for those of you that do not have a study system that works for you, I am going to briefly review the SQ3R method. This is the survey, question, read, recite, and review method. This method allows for better time management practices as you break down the study process into clear steps. So instead of allotting time to study for an entire topic, you also have the option to break it down into several steps, and you can still retain this information. Simply because chances are while you're in college you will have a daunting amount to read, and even from time to time you might feel like it's insurmountable. But it's not. Don't worry. You will figure out how to do it and you will be brilliant at it. The SQ3R is, again, a time-efficient method of reading course books. So again, it doesn't, it helps enter in your long-term memory, so as you can comprehend the material. These methods have definitely shown to improve students' understanding. So without further ado, we'll go through each step. So for surveying, the first step is survey. And for this step, basically your goal is to get an overall picture of what you're going to study before you really drill down deep and study in any detail. It's like looking at a road map before going on a trip. So if you don't know the territory very well, you're not really going to have a clear idea of where you're heading. So the best idea for this is to get that overall picture. It takes usually about 5 or 10 minutes, depending on the complexity of the reading assignment or chapter you've been given. The next step you move on to is questioning. So ask questions for learning. The important thing to learn are usually answers to questions. Questions should lead to emphasis on the what, the why, the how, the when, the who, the where, all that about study content. And you definitely want to ask yourself questions as you're reading or studying. So as you answer them, you'll help make sense of the material and remember it more easily because the process has made an impression upon you. Those things that make impressions are more meaningful to us, and therefore they're more easily remembered. So it's really going to stick into your head. And definitely don't be afraid to write any questions in the margins of your textbooks, lecture notes, wherever it makes sense. Just write down the questions. As you ask yourself those questions when you're looking through the text again, just write them down everywhere. So simply put, after you've quickly surveyed the material, you're going to then go through it again and ask yourself these questions. Like if you come to the first bold-faced topic in your chapter, you'll read that and proceed to restate it in a form of a question. For example, if you're reading your Lit 101 text and you come to the subtopic archetypes, you'd ask yourself, what is an archetype? And you can further ask yourself, what examples of archetypes are used here in the text? And then even more so, how are these examples of archetypes similar or different to the examples I already know? So as you're just, again, briefly skimming through the reading, you're not even doing any drill down reading yet, you're just asking yourself some questions. So what are these questions that you would like to reread the text now and in depth and answer these questions? So you're going to move then to the reading portion of the method, and remember that you are reading, really reading for detail. Read actively. Reading is not just running your eyes over the textbook. When you read, you want to be answering those questions that you've asked yourself or questions the instructor or author has asked. So again, when you went through the questioning phase, you've asked yourself all of those questions in the margin. Perhaps your lecturer, professor, or again, the author themselves may be asking questions that you want. So again, what are those answers to those questions? You're reading for that. Always be alert to the bold or italicized print. The authors have intended that this material receive special emphasis, so give it the special review it deserves. Also, when you read, be sure to read everything, including the tables, graphs, illustrations, because oftentimes graphs and illustrations can convey an idea more powerfully than the written text. So moving next to the recite portion. I'm actually going to pause to see if I've lost power. If you can hear me, can you raise your hand, please? Okay, that's good. I apologize to pause like that, but I just noticed that there had been a disconnection notice given to me. Okay, well, it sounds like we're good and go, so go. I'm going to move on to the recite. Thank you for allowing me to pause to check that. So when you're in the recite, so you've already read, so now that you're in the recite, you're going to review the material, and you're going to stop reading periodically to recall what you have read. Try to recall the main headings, important ideas of concepts presented in bold or italics types, and what the graphs or charts had indicated. Develop an overall concept of what you've read in your own words and thoughts. You should definitely try to connect what you have just read to things you already know. And when you do this periodically, the chances are that you will remember much more and will be able to recall this material for papers, essays, and objectives tests, which is really important come time when you're sitting with your blue book and your pen and you're asked to write about this. These will be the times when you've paused to recite them out loud. You will impress upon your mind these important facts. So stop, take a moment, recite it, even write it down so that you have a good idea of what the material has asked. And use your own words as much as possible, because then you'll be able to translate that directly into any type of examination that you will need to have this information. The final step to this method is reviewing. And reviewing is a survey of what you have covered. It is a review of what you're supposed to accomplish, not necessarily what you're going to do. So in the beginning, when you surveyed and you asked yourself questions, you have, again, at this point, you're going to review those questions and make sure that they are properly answered. So definitely rereading is an important part of this review process. You will reread now with an idea that you are measuring what you've gained from the process. So that question is, what do you now know that you didn't know before? And then using those own words to describe that. So during the review, it's a good time to go over notes that you've already taken, and you'll help clarify points you've missed or don't understand. And the best time to review is actually when you've just finished that thorough reading of the study. So once you've done that in-depth study, that's the best time to actually review your notes and review the material and make sure that you walk away with having a clear concept of what's been presented to you in the text. So after reading an entire assignment, I definitely recommend testing your memory by asking yourself questions you've identified, review your notes, do that final review. What is the material significance? What are the implications or applications of this material? What questions do you still have left? If you have them, ask your study partners, run to your UTA and faculty members and get those questions answered, and then try to form those answers into your own words. And then test yourself by covering up key phrases and see if you can recall them. And do this again right after you've read each chapter or each assigned reading. And if you don't recall one of the major points, that might be one of the sections you need to reread and review. I must pause briefly to highly recommend the use of Cornell note-taking when using the SQ3R method. I may just start speaking Greek to you, it sounds like, but if you've heard of the Cornell note-taking system, it is incredibly effective, and if you have not, you should definitely maybe look into it. And if you're interested in learning more about the Cornell note-taking method, email me. You'll get our information at the end of this webinar, but if you email me, I will gladly send you some worksheets on the Cornell style of note-taking and how that works best with the SQ3R study method. So, all right, so that concludes the study systems portion. I do believe we are moving to any questions regarding the study methods.
I show no questions.
It looked like I had a few questions. If you study alone, how can I get the answer? And again, definitely, I think that might have been when you were solo studying questions for the solo studier. Again, you know, effective studying, it depends on the person, but giving your time and giving yourself the time and space to review your notes, and if you still have questions, of course, go ask those questions. So again, you're not pigeonholed just studying alone. I mean, definitely try different methods, whatever's going to work for you. We did have a quick general question, and these slideshows, if you would like them to be available to you, absolutely they can. We will definitely have this webinar in its entirety on the Kappa website for you to view. But if you are looking for this slideshow in particular, contact myself or Amelia. Again, our information will be at the end of the webinar, and we'll gladly send that your way, or we can make it available to you somehow. All right, I think that's it. So time to take a poll. And here we go. So when I am experiencing difficulty in a course, what do you do? Give you a few seconds to answer. And we're going to close the poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And here are the results.
Okay, this is wonderful to see in the sense that we're going to be moving into academic resources available to each of you. So 78% of you say you asked for help from a member who's also maybe taking that course or has taken it. 52% even split, say they visit with a professor and or TA, or they work it out on their own. And 26% use campus resources or a tutor, 4% do nothing. So we definitely don't want to encourage you to do nothing. You have a variety of resources available to you. And I'm going to walk through Campus Community Chapter and Kappa and NPC Resources as well. So we'll kind of walk through a variety of different tools you have at your disposal. So first and foremost, you have campus resources available to you. And universities and colleges have really greatly expanded their academic resource sections and the different centers and learning places that they have on campuses in the last 10 to 15 years predominantly. And one very obvious sounding resource that you have at your disposal is your campus libraries. And often you have many libraries on your campus. So depending on your major, you may spend a lot of time or no time in libraries on campus. It very much depends on what kinds of courses you're taking, whether or not you need them. But this is the #1 place for you to do research, find resources and information regarding a topic. So whether it's a research paper that you're doing or whether you're looking for additional information on your major or other areas of study, libraries are the best place to go. Some departments or colleges have their own libraries on campus. Often you'll see an engineering library, maybe a science or mathematics library, dependent to that college or department. So obviously, this is an even more concentrated place to find the information you need regarding your major. As a communications major, unfortunately, I did not have my own dedicated communications library, but for those of you who do, this is incredibly helpful as well. Libraries are big. They're overwhelming. This is not the small community library that you may have frequented growing up in your hometown. So I really encourage each of you to take a library tutorial. Oftentimes, several times throughout the semester, but definitely at the beginning of each term, libraries will give kind of workshops, hour-long tours, which include showing you how to use the resources effectively and efficiently. There's nothing better than getting on with the library staff and actually learning about the different resources that the library has, things that you may not have even known about. And that includes now how to navigate the stacks, where to find what, how to use the new Dewey Decibel system, which is now online and electronic. So really, how do you get the information you need? And once you do this, you'll be so thankful. You'll save yourself hours, days by the end of your collegiate career in terms of trying to track down information. So I definitely encourage you to take a library tutorial, learn how to use the libraries on your campus effectively. Campuses also usually have a campus learning center. This is a place where you can find tutoring groups or tutors in various subjects, supplemental instruction for students with registered learning disabilities as well. Often the Campus Learning Center is a place where you can actually register if you have a learning disability. If you do, I highly encourage you to register with the university and be provided those additional resources. Oftentimes you can have additional time to take tests in a different environment, and have a variety of other resources at your fingertips. So this is really, really helpful. And it's also key just for you to understand kind of how you're navigating your academic career and what the university can do to support you. Testing centers. So oftentimes the Campus Learning Center will be a place where you can take the LSAT, the GMAT, the GRE, the MCAT, different tests as well, which is really nice instead of having to go out and find that testing center somewhere else. Some of them offer foreign language conversation groups, which I love. And this is an amazing resource for those of you who are learning a foreign language or those of you who maybe studied abroad and are trying to keep those language skills going. So conversation groups, foreign language labs, things like that can also be offered. Study groups, learning centers will often also organize active study groups around general topics or general classes. And sometimes they'll even offer focused learning groups on one class or one subject. So maybe there's a Biology 301 course that 75% of the collegiate population will end up taking at some point. Perhaps they're going to have a focused learning group, study group on that course for that term. So keeping an eye out for study groups that might also help you. And this is, like I said, common for classes, science classes, mathematics classes, things like that. And then campuses also often have a campus career center. And this is an incredible opportunity for you to really continue your collegiate and professional development. This is a place where you can learn how to write a cover letter, how to put together a really professional resume. It's also wonderful as you get ready to actually search for careers, search for internships and additional experiences outside of college that can really build your resume and help prepare you for work. The other key part of a career center is that they can often also help you do skills assessments to figure out what you want to do. Maybe you started in engineering and quickly realized that that was not the direction your life was going to take, but what do you do from here? In-campus career centers will often have those kinds of skills assessments and resources to help you move down the line. If you are looking at getting an internship for the first time, if you're getting ready to leave school and hunt for a job and you have not gotten career center advice on your cover letter or resume, I highly, highly recommend it. And this is also a group for those VPAEs and new member chairs on the call. Your Campus Learning Center and Campus Career Center is a great resource for guest speakers, women who can come to your chapter, speak, talk about the different resources that they have, in addition to what I've mentioned. These are the major 3 campus resources at every school, but every school is different, and sometimes they'll be more or less robust. Sometimes campuses will have writing centers or a completely different section of tutoring. It really depends. And so really versing yourself in what your campus can provide to you is the first step. But definitely take advantage because your university is invested in your success as well. They want to see you succeed. They want to see you go out, get a job, be a robust and happy and successful alum. And so they want to very much make sure that you have everything you need to succeed as well. You also have community resources available to you. Depending on the size of your college town that you may be in, there's also additional libraries, and maybe they can be helpful as well. Maybe they have local expertise. There's museums. Some of you are located in major cities where we have major art museums, history museums, science museums, and these are also great places where you can gain additional information on a topic regarding your major, whatever it may be. So really think outside the box in terms of what your community can provide to you and more. Professional career centers, job fairs, writing centers, a lot of communities have these things as well. So if you see job fairs or internship fairs on the community boards, there's no reason why you can't take place in those as well. Your chapter also provides you a variety of wonderful resources. And first and foremost, resources in your sisters. You have joined an organization with many, many women who are here to help you. You have sisters who have taken your major before, who have walked this path ahead of you. They've kind of gone a little bit farther down that yellow brick road, and they know exactly where you're headed. And they can give you valuable, valuable information about classes that you should or maybe shouldn't take, professors that you really want to make sure you know or not know. They can really help you with regards to those resources and navigating campus and study skills and tips and things like that as well. So really kind of learning from their past mistakes and their growth in college. You have a key sister who is also there very much to help you and support you through this process. So lean on her, ask her questions, make sure that you really ask her everything that you want to know about studying as well. Because just because we don't always look at Kappa as an academic institution, it is. And she's equally invested in your success. You also have the VPAE and her committee, and this is very much, these are the experts on academics and scholarship within your chapter, and these are women you should feel comfortable going to any time if you have questions. And they're really there to help link you with resources you need as well. So if there's at any point something that you're looking for and can't find, definitely seek out the VPAE and her committee members. And then many of your chapters also have study files. And these study files are a place where you can find practice tests, study guides, and other pertinent information that really will help you prepare for a test. And we strongly encourage that study files only be a place with tests and study guides, because if there are papers and other things, we don't want to encourage plagiarism in any way. But we want to make sure that you have tools available to you where you can adequately prepare for an upcoming test. And this is really helpful when it comes to chemistry problems or mathematics problems, science questions, anything that may be, things that you need to actively kind of practice before you go in and take that test. So again, if you're not sure about the study files or if you have them or where they might be, ask the VPAE or a member of her committee, and they can point you in that direction as well. The fraternity as a whole, Kappa Kappa Gamma, also has resources available to you. And so I want to just give you all a glimpse of what I call Kappa Land. We have more than 135 chapters throughout the United States and Canada, and all of these chapters have advisors. So these advisors are there also to help you. So if you're having difficulty navigating resources in the community or outside of the chapter and campus, your advisors are also there to help you, and there is an academic excellence advisor for your chapter. The fraternity has a Fraternity Academic Excellence Committee, which I actually chair. Reese is a member of our committee, and we provide resources and support to chapters throughout Kappa as well. So if there are questions that you have that kind of go beyond your advisors, beyond your VPA and her committee, feel free. We love working with collegiate women. This is why we do the volunteer positions we do, so please feel free to reach out. And then there are also resources on the Kappa website. And so under chapter resources, under the VPAE office, there's a variety of different resources and programming ideas, and we're actually uploading even more over the next couple of months. So look back there, see if you need programming ideas for you VPAEs and new member chairs, but also there's information there that can help new members and other active chapter women as well. So we really want to make sure that you can use the website as well for resources. In addition to Kappa, there's the National Panhellenic Council, and this is made up of all 26 nationally recognized Panhellenic groups. So this includes Pi Phi, AD Pi, Delta Gamma, all of those big sororities that you often see on most campuses. And I've actually given you the roadmap. So if you go to npcwomen.org, under College Panhellenics and under Academic Excellence, you'll find the Academic Excellence Handbook and newsletters. And these actually have really concentrated tips, tricks, study ideas, programs that VPAEs can use. So I highly encourage you to go check that out and see what you can find to help you and your chapter. So any questions about resources? And again, this is general. This is not specific to your campus, but it should give you a good idea of exactly what's available to you.
So if you have any questions, go ahead and type them in right now about academic resources. And if you can't think of any right now, no worries. We're going to have, again, a Q&A at the very end. But I do see a few questions pop up.
So I have one question. Can Kappa chapters reward money? And if so, where should the money come from? And I'm not sure exactly what the reward of money is for. We very much don't recommend that you give money as an incentive for academic excellence. So if you do want to give incentives or recognition for someone who has succeeded academically and is doing well, give that in the form of a picture frame or a gift certificate or $5 in Starbucks, but whatever that may be. But we really don't want you to be giving out money from your budget directly. How is the Kappa GPA nationwide? Kappa actually, and this is based on fall 2010, since we don't have all of the spring 2011 reports in yet, averages about a 3.23 nationwide under fall. We can do better, I believe, but this is actually a wonderful start. And then that's it. Any other questions quickly before we move forward?
I think so.
And if you missed any information or if you're looking for it, feel free to email us at the end of tonight, and we'll send you the PowerPoint or send you a specific slide if you have a question.
Perfect.
Okay.
And
so moving on to stress reduction, I'll pass it over to Reese.
Perfect. So when you're really stressed out, you want to identify your stressors, figure out what it is that is stressing you out. Definitely think right now, and if not right now, when you are feeling really stressed out, you can take a moment to figure out what is most stressful, your pressures, your worries, your conflict responsibilities. If you find right now you're really stressed out and you want to take a moment to go ahead and write down those things that are most stressful in your life, you go ahead and can. But this is definitely a technique to use when you're just feeling like over-the-top stress. What am I going to do? I have so much on my plate. I don't know how to deal with this. You can write down all your pressures, worries, conflicts, and responsibilities and identify first what your stressors are. Then the next thing you can do is figure out a way to change the causes of stress. So learn to manage your stress by, if possible, removing that cause of stress. You know, figure out what your resources are. As Amelia said, there are many resources at your fingertips. You'll reorganize your life. You can avoid unnecessary stressors and change that cause of stress whenever possible. And remember to be creative and ask for help from others, especially your sisters. If you aren't able to think of ways to change your situation on your own, ask for some advice. That's what we're here for. Develop those skills to cope. So definitely try some training and self-development. Your VPAE and the rest of your chapter council will be setting up an amazing education. Kappa Pathways has some fantastic resources on training and self-development and ways to cope. And check out your campus resource center. Again, Amelia gave you some time management skills. Other ways to cope is to definitely improve assertiveness and communication. And then figure out how to manage your mind. So create some positive thinking, change those unrealistic beliefs, and definitely avoid that all or nothing type of thinking, that must, ought, should type of thinking. And lead a balanced lifestyle. Develop your healthy eating habits, exercise regularly, and pursue those hobbies and interests that put a smile on your face. And so really strive to lead a balanced lifestyle. And definitely learn to relax and sleep better. Managing your sleeping pattern will definitely help reduce your stress. So again, figure out all of that and decide what you're going to do. Here's some questions to ask yourself. How can you change those causes of stress? How can you develop the skills you need to succeed? And who and what are my resources? And again, what can you do to better balance your lifestyle? So just help create a plan of action for yourself. So you might be stressed, but you know what? You can pull yourself out of it, no worries. And then you also have a whole host of sisters and friends that can help you through this as well. So if you're finding yourself really stressed out, there are some things that you can do instantly. And so don't freak out. Instead, try one of these instant stress relievers. Take a minute and make a list. All of the things that you have to do and just don't know how you're going to all fit it in, put them out of your head and onto a list. Include everything that needs to be done on the list, including homework, class assignments, class, grocery shopping, laundry, even hanging out with friends, even partying if that's something that's important to you. Just write it all down, anything and everything. Make a weekly schedule. Fit all of your tasks in with that weekly schedule, and it will definitely help make more organized. And once you get it out of your head in a jumble and into an organized list, you're going to find that indeed there is time to fit in all of the good stuff. So stop being overwhelmed. Just make a list. And in fact, for me, there is nothing more cathartic than crossing off something a list. It feels fantastic. It's that feeling of accomplishment, and it's a great way to see how much you're actually doing during the day, and so you can pat yourself on the back. The next thing to try is visualization and relaxation. So just taking a moment, if you're into meditation or yoga, definitely do that. But if even just for that moment you're feeling stressed, take 6 deep breaths in, slowly breathing through your nose and out your mouth. Do that a couple times and you'll definitely find yourself relaxed. Visualize yourself either in the Bahamas or some other pleasant place. Travel there through your imagination and visualize the scene in great detail. This way you're going to give yourself a few minutes to enjoy a very well-deserved mini vacation. The next thing you can definitely try, well, I didn't write this one down, hugs. Hugs are awesome. You'd be surprised, 4 hugs every day will do a lot to calm you down. But if hugs aren't your thing, then change your scene. Either get up, walk to the window, watch some birds, take a stroll down the hall, grab a friend, go outside, breathe in deeply the wonderful fresh air. Definitely exercising and stretching will improve your mind. So get up and move, get that blood flowing, jog up a staircase, grab a Kappa friend, and run out the door. Just change your scene for a few minutes. You'll come back with to the situation feeling fresh and ready to tackle it. And definitely, I can't recommend enough, find something or someone that will make you laugh. Stress can often come from taking yourself way too seriously. So just like hugs, you'd be surprised what great happiness and relaxation can come from taking a break and having a good laugh. So some things that you might not know but may want to consider is that college students are considered one of the most depressed and lonely groups when compared to the general population. Often students try to deal with these problems with partying and drinking. So instead of doing that, maybe look to your Kappa sisters, your friends, your professors, or anything that will give personal meaning to you and really fight that depression and overcome anxiety by reaching out. The more real time you spend with meaningful people and activities, the more alive you will feel. And there are so many worthwhile activities and people in your chapter and at your university, and they are just actually waiting for you to discover them. So you'd be surprised how many people are looking for the same type of interaction you need, and I guarantee you will find them in your new member class and in your Kappa chapters. So in Kappa and elsewhere on your campus, you're going to definitely find friends to help you through it all, and maybe even a few soulmates along the way. I know this is the case because I know what happened to me while I was in college. So definitely reach out. If you're feeling blue or you're feeling stressed out, reach out to your sisters. Reaching out can make all the difference in the world. So if you have any stress reduction questions, feel free to ask them now.
So Reese, we do have one question. How would you suggest we take what we've learned today and share it with new members?
Ooh, that is a great question. Again, if new members were not able to come today, you can, again, point them to the go-to webinar in a few weeks, but in their interim and in the future, definitely, hopefully, these ideas have catapulted some great ideas in your head, and you can deliver these messages during the new member programming and layer it in that way. Your VPAE may want to run with this ball and not only present this to new members, but to the chapter at large. Again, it really is up to you to decide how you want to disperse this information. Amelia, you may have other suggestions?
No, I think Reese hit it again. This will be available in a few weeks online, and so you're absolutely going to be able to steer new members toward this. But please take what works for you. If you want to take the 4 sections that we've produced here and give small miniature programs and academic focuses to your chapters, we recommend that. Use the resources that we've provided. There's no reason why you should be reinventing the wheel within your own chapter, unless you want to. I mean, take this information and very much make it yours if you'd like. Also, we're happy to provide this PowerPoint to you, and you can share it at maybe the new member retreat or an additional meeting, perhaps that the new members are taking part of. It could be part of Inspiration Week, however you really want to use it.
Excellent.
So
Okay.
we have a couple polls left before we end this evening. We're going to end right about on time. We wanted to shoot for just an hour. So the first is really kind of getting an idea, what are your plans for the future? What are your professional goals? So the poll is now open. Go ahead and vote. Let us know kind of what you're planning on doing or where you're at. And the poll will close in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So 76% have chosen a major or minor. 57% have at least have chosen a career path, which in some ways can be just as difficult. 43% are preparing to take graduate entry exams or prepare for graduate school. Congratulations. And 14% are undecided and also have no idea where they're headed. This is perfectly fine. I think this is an area that a lot of people find themselves, even as a junior or senior, they're not exactly sure yet what they're going to be doing, and that's fine because we're very much in a world and in a career-oriented world now where you're not going to be doing the same thing forever. Have one very different career path for 3 years and then have a very different one next 3 years of your career, and that's very, very normal for your generation, for your age group. It's okay to not know. And the nice thing is that you have a variety of opportunities to pursue very different areas of academic study within your collegiate career. And then we have one last poll. Before we open it up for Q&A at the end, we would love to get some ideas about what you would like to see in future academic excellence presentations. We want to provide more of these webinars, more of these resources to you. You would please vote and let us know kind of what's most important to you regarding future presentations. And the poll will close in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So 68% test-taking skills, 59% note-taking skills, 50% increasing reading and comprehension, 41% research skills, and 32% listening skills. So thank you so much for that input because that will really, really help us in determining kind of what's most important to you moving forward. As Yates said, education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire. And so we hope that tonight has been helpful as you look towards moving forward in your academic pursuit of higher learning and in your collegiate career, wherever you may be in that step, and really lighting the fire of intellectual curiosity because, again, we're lifelong learners, and it continues many, many years after our 4 years, 5 years, 10 years in college, whatever it may be. So if there are any additional questions, we are happy to take them. You can just type them into the question panel. And then also, for your information, here's our contact information. So you can find me, Amelia McCormick, at ahmkkg@gmail.com and Reese Jolch at reesekkg@gmail.com. Feel free to email either of us PowerPoint presentation from tonight for any additional information that you would like regarding these topics or academic excellence in general. So we'll answer a few more questions should they pop up. But again, thank you so much again for all of your participation this evening and being such active participants. And I see no questions, so that concludes our webinar for tonight. Again, feel free to reach out and contact us. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Have a good evening.